Hello, and welcome back to the Journey from Cana. Today I wanted to talk a minute about the Marian Dogma, Mary, the Mother of God. So, what this dogma basically is telling us is that the Blessed Mother is Jesus' mother, and Jesus is God. Ergo, Mary is the Mother of God. Now, why is this important enough for the Church to declare it as a dogma? Well, like everything with our Blessed Mother, it is all meant to point us to Jesus and to a better understanding of who he is as a person and who it is that we are to follow and worship. So when we say that Mary is the Mother of God, what we are saying is that Jesus in the flesh was born in the Blessed Mother's womb, and she gave birth to Jesus, the God-man. Now, it has been determined by the Church that Jesus was both fully God and fully man. So what we are saying is that the Blessed Mother gave birth to the person of Jesus, the person who was fully God and fully man. Now, that does not mean that somehow the Blessed Mother created God or pre-existed before him or anything like that. If you start thinking like that, you've completely missed what this dogma is trying to tell us. And a good way to look at it is to look at us and how we are. Now, some people have tried to discuss that, the Blessed Mother gave birth to Jesus' human nature, but his divine nature was imposed upon him like some sort of mixtured quagmire. And again, that's not what we're talking about. Women give birth to people, not natures. So a good way to look at it is how we are born. Say we are born from, of course we know the biological process. We get our flesh and our human nature and all of that from our parents. However, that divine spark that makes us made in the image and likeness of God, we get from God. Another name for that would be our soul. So it's these two things combined that makes us into who we are. But I am not separate of my soul. We like to think about how our soul leaves our bodies and goes to heaven when we die, but that's not the final point for our journey. The final point for our journey is when the heavens and earth reunite and we are made perfect as it was intended from the beginning. We are a being of flesh and spirit. And there is a whole lot of heresies and things that have been discussed about in church history that we can go about at a future time to kind of really get down into the details on this specific teaching. But for today, it's important to just keep that in mind. So when our parents, our mother gave birth to us, they gave birth to us, the human person that has a human nature. Well, the Blessed Mother gave birth to Jesus with his human nature, and he also had a divine nature. And these two things together is what made the person Jesus. You can't separate them. And so now, why is this important? Well, if you start saying that Jesus is, if the Blessed Mother gave birth to Jesus' person, for example, but not his divine nature, what you're saying there is that Jesus isn't fully God and fully man. And if he's not fully God and fully man, then his sacrifice on the cross doesn't pay the price for our sins. And so you kind of see how this thread starts to unravel. And why do I say that? Well, if you can go back to my video where I start talking about the nature of sacrifice, you'll remember that I talk about how the sacrifice was to pay the debt that we cannot pay. When we sin against God, we are breaking that relationship with him because we promised, or our parents did, Abraham, Noah, and all that through the different covenants, that if we broke the covenant that we would die. Well, when we sin, we break the covenant, and so thus we die. So Jesus, being fully man, pays the price for us, but by being fully God, he pays a price that we cannot pay, because only God is worthy of God. And so that's why this dogma is so critical. Now, if you start saying that the Blessed Mother gave birth to just Jesus as God, well, that doesn't work either. Because if he was God, then he can't take our place and pay our price, because it was a human death that was necessary, because it was human nature that sinned against God. This was the whole point of the Arian heresy as it was discussed during the councils of Nicaea and Constantinople and all that in the early church history. And so this dogma comes out of all that. And it is a simple way for the church to say God, Jesus, was fully God and fully man. And it was the Word made flesh who dwelt among us. It is not trying to put anything into the Blessed Mother or anything else beyond that truth statement. Now, saying that Mary is God, as Jesus' mother, does bring a certain kind of mindset with it, and that's one of the problems that I've mentioned in other videos. That's the problem with the English language. The words don't truly describe the concept that we're trying to give. This is part of the reason why the church uses Latin for its official language, and why a lot of our ancient documents were in Greek. And it was later translated into Latin and later translated into vernacular languages like English and such like that. And so a term the church likes to use here to describe this concept is called the Theotokos, which means the God-bearer. And this is a great way of describing what it is that we are saying. We are saying that the Blessed Mother gave birth to the person of Jesus and bore God within her and gave birth to this person that was God. We're not saying that God came into being in her womb like we as humans do. No, that's not what we're saying at all. That's why the term Theotokos is very effective at describing this concept. And it's why the church has used it for generations, and why, if you look into the Catechism of the Catholic Church today, they still use it, because it is a beautiful way of describing this concept. And so the next time you hear Mary, the Mother of God, the dogma of the Catholic Church, remember what it is that the church is actually saying with this dogma. We are saying with this dogma that Jesus, fully God and fully man, was born of the Virgin Mary. That she was the Theotokos, the God-bearer. That she is the Ark of the New Covenant, the place where God dwelled. And this starts then going into the different dogmas and how they all start tying together. And so, on that note, thank you very much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe so that we may continue the journey from Cana.